Boy George, do you remember him? The lead man of the Goop Culture Club. Came out in the 80s. Really, for the MTV generation, one of the first gender bending artists to be introduced mainstream. Many might not remember that time. Well, he has a new memoir coming out, and in it, he talks about his relationship with Janet Jackson and Tina Turner, and he says that he and Janet will never be friends. So, anyway, he has a memoir dropping. Well, it's already out actually. It's called Karma, My Autobiography, and it discusses
Hmm.
his 4 decades in show business, right? And so, of course, in the autobiography, the anecdotes, the little stories are the things that people live for. Well, George talked about his relationship, so to speak, or some interactions that he had with both Janet and Tina. And
Okay, first of all, if you're not friends with nobody, y'all don't have a relationship. So let's just.
they might be associates, they're peers, or they were at the time.
Y'all are acquaintances, at co-workers at best.
Okay. Well, he shared that the two met back in the day at, do you remember the show Solid Gold?
Yes, with Darcel, the dancer.
Yes, with the long black braids.
I should tell my mom to listen to the show tonight because
Solid
she will
Gold.
tell you that I was in front of the TV doing solid gold numbers.
And Dionne Warwick used to host
Yes.
in the early parts. Well, so he said he was a big Janet fan, that he like had brought an armful of her records, and approached her without his makeup on. So he didn't have his face on. He wasn't Boy George, he was just a guy, right? And so he said that she wasn't friendly and didn't try to be. And so he said he just walked off and went and got himself together to be Boy George. And he said that one of her crew then, later approached him with a video camera and asked him to record a message for Janet. And he said that he said into the camera, next time you meet someone, be nice. So someone came later and, brought him into Janet's dressing room, and she said that she didn't recognize him earlier when she crossed paths with him. And so he asked her, are you saying you would have been nice to me if you knew who I was? And it was just an awkward moment. I imagine like that gif with oh, we're not supposed to talk about him right now, huh?
Who?
Diddy from whatever the show was where he and the contestant were just staring at each other.
Okay. Yes. Uh huh.
That's what I imagine happening. um,
Yes.
and before, it's like, leave me.
Him describing this moment because I've interacted with Janet Jackson before. I can see exactly how this played out.
And so then he said that a few years later he ran into her in the UK. They have a show called Tops of Pops. And that she looked straight through him, ice glare, didn't give him anything. And he said that, when you write a book like this, there's a chance you're going to bump into someone that you've written about. And I have to say that what I've written about the people is the truth, and that's what happened and how they behaved. He's 62 at this point, and he said, I'm comfortable with that. I'm always someone who's prepared to bury the hatchet because there's always another opportunity to be different. But he said, at this point, there's certain people I'm never going to be friends with unless a miracle happens, and I put Janet in that category. He also said that his run in with Tina, he said he didn't expand too much on it in the memoir. These are comments that he gave to People magazine. But he said she wasn't nice to him and it was a shame. He said that Elton John had invited him to perform somewhere, and afterwards they were in a dressing room with the actress Faye Dunaway, Ben Kingsley. These are like, old school actors. And it was a lot of big stars, and it was a small room, he said. And when Elton introduced him to Tina, Tina turned her back on him. And he said he left the room upset, and Faye Dunaway followed him out. And he said he never understood why Tina had that reaction to him. But then he adds, which is like, George, you think? He was like, maybe it was the drugs. I had just come off drugs, so maybe she was disapproving of that. But he said he had become a Buddhist since then and adds that, Tina's a Buddhist and that he was the biggest Tina fan on the planet and he forgave her and loved her for it. He said he loves Janet's music. He loves Madonna's music as well. I guess he must have talked some Madonna shade in there as well. But he said you're supposed to write when you're supposed to write things about other artists. He said it's also a note to self to remember that perhaps there's been times in your life when you weren't friendly to everyone you met. It's 1000% easier to be nice. Not only is it easier to be nice, it's better for you. So that's a lot.